5 minutes. The webinar is now streaming. It says at the top of the page.
I'm going to find it really hard to be quiet. There's two of you in it.
Push the sock in it.
You can keep track of the Q&A box and just poke him if there's questions that he's not noticed.
Okay.
But maybe ignore them till the end mostly.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. We'll.
Tweedy's fallen asleep.
Okay.
So we've about 5 minutes there. Now 5 minutes to go.
5 minutes. Actually 4 according to my watch.
Ah, perfect.
Flat hat says I'll have a candy floss and a bottle of pop, please.
We'll send an usher over to your flat hat.
It's not in tune. I was gonna give a tune to Badger, but it's not in tune. That would it. I'm not sure if it's in tune. Pre-show music.
I'm gonna make you squeal like a pig, boy.
Oh, I've got my thumbs tangled up. I'm surprised that shelf's not falling down. I put it up myself. It's done remarkably well.
Oh, if it did fall down, you've only yourself to blame.
Oh, yes.
Self to blame. We're waiting on Dave to tell us when it's good to go now, or Sasha, anyone. So.
Get out, Yoda, get out. It's not your turn now.
Yeah, this is whenever that share to all panelists whenever it says 9 p.m.
So we're going to start on the dot at 9 p.m. 9 p.m. 2 minutes to go, ladies and gentlemen. 2 minutes to go.
Minutes.
If you do need to spend a penny, now's the time to do it.
Oh. Are you going to introduce them? You're going to come in.
I'm still here. I'm just.
That's what's this done here.
Right. It looks like we've been given the signal to go. So welcome everybody, and welcome to tonight's instalment from Zoological, the Zoom chat with, well, tonight it's Alan Tweedy, Dickweed. Hello, Tweedy.
Hello.
So before we get stuck in, I have a few official announcements to make. So one thing that's really important, Zoological only exists through to the generosity of its patrons and supporters. And I suppose we'd like to thank our patron supporters individually, and they are Duncan Cameron, Flat Hat, Frankie Anderson, Piero Grandinetti, Ricky Jacout, Tweedy himself, Sandra, Yvette, Menard, and John Lee. Now, there is a few extra names that have joined that list in the last few days, but I don't have an update. But you can also support Zoological with a one-off payment or multiple payments if you're feeling flush through PayPal. And the PayPal contributors include Dale Bullock, Charlotte Parry-Jones, Sarah Slater, Joti Venix, Jose Rodriguez, Emma Siffer, Lexi Strauss, Adrian Barker, Hilary Chaplin, and Duncan Cameron. And I have some more as well. G. Carroll, Antonella Casella, John Davidson, and Rachel Kimrow. So thank you so much for everyone supporting Zoological. It's important as well just to mention here Dave and Sasha, the co-producers of Zoological. And I'll mention the patron scheme again, just so you all know. But yeah, you can also check out the website, zoological.ie, and that hosts all the credits and the video links from previous Zoom meetings. So do stay in touch with us and help keep this. Yeah, I'm getting fed notes from the side there. So just to remind you that don't worry if you can't see everyone who's on the Zoom meeting. You can feed in through the question and answer section. How the presentation works is you'll see myself and Tweedy, and I'll try and keep on top of the questions. And I also have some questions of my own for Tweedy, and we'll try and pick his brains and find out what's going on inside this clown mind of his. So are you ready to go, Tweedy?
I'm ready to go, yes.
Good stuff. And
oh, you mean questions? Sorry.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah, good. I suppose first things first.
Yes.
Is it Alan or is it Tweedy? Which do we call you by?
Tweedy. Everyone calls me Tweedy. It's kind of a nickname, although it's, yeah, everyone calls me Tweedy. So Tweedy is fine.
And where does that come from?
So originally when I started clowning, I was going to call myself Weedy because my last name is Digweed, but there was already a Weedy the Clown. So Zippo, who I was working with at the time, Zippo Martin Burton of Zippo Circus, he suggested putting a T in front of Weedy because of the Scottish connection, and they stuck. And then, but Weedy the Clown came to me a couple of years later and went, "Oh, you can have my name now. I don't want it." But it was too late by then. I was already Tweedy. So keep the name, Weedy.
Yeah. So, Tweedy, where did it all start?
Okay, so
what made you want to be a clown?
I always loved cartoons, and I was studying animation. Well, I wasn't studying it. I was going to go to art school. In particular, I was drawn to, pardon the pun, I was drawn to character development in animation. You know, the idea of creating this comic character and bringing it to life. That's kind of what appealed to me. And then I kind of had this realization during art class that actually animation, particularly back then before you had computer animation, is really boring. You know, you are sat in an office, and I was thinking about it, and then I suddenly realized I wanted to be the cartoon. I wanted to create this character, but I wanted to be that character. I didn't want to create this character. Oh, sorry, that's my phone honking. So I wanted to create this character. And so then I thought about it, and I thought clown was the closest thing to being a real life cartoon, and everything just kind of made sense to me then, because of my natural character. You know, I'm naturally quite you know, quite clown-like in real life. And it just kind of went, oh yeah, that's it. And it was great to have that kind of clarity at sort of 16, 17 to suddenly think, yes, I'm going to do. So yeah, then I kind of tried to do some research, which obviously was very difficult back then because there was no internet. You know, you couldn't just go Google, how to be a clown. Yeah, I just kind of did my own research, and that's how it began.
So like you said 15, 16?
Well, 16, 17, yeah, about that, yeah.
Bursting into this mad world.
Yes.
How? Where did you get that start? Where was the...
That's exactly my question as well at the time, because, you know, as I say, there was no Google. So I kind of found out as much as I could, you know, clown books and live things. I learned, you know, all the things I thought you need to learn to be a clown, you know, juggling and all the circus skills, because that you can do on your own, but obviously clown you can't. So I left school not knowing quite what to do, and then I went back to school the next week as a cleaner, which freaked the teachers out. I marched back into the staff room. What are you doing back? And what are you doing in the staff room? And so I was working as a cleaner at my old school, learning unicycling while buffering the floor. And then I got offered a pantomime, because I did youth theatre at the same time. So it was a small panto. It was mainly for schools and things like that. And I did this panto, and I just thought, wow, I can make money from, you know, doing this. And I got a nice little review on the stage. So that was it. You know, I was completely focused then, going, this is definitely what I want to do. So then I went to Butlins as a red coat, which was great. It was incredibly hard work, but it meant I could just go. They'd let me just go in the Red Coat Cabaret every week and do whatever the hell I liked, and most of it was complete rubbish. But you know, that's what you've got to do as a clown. And whilst I was there, I applied for a full time, which was the original circuit media, and I got into a course. I think Bim Mason was the main tutor of it. So I was very excited. I was working at Butlins. I was saving all my money whilst I was at Butlins, so that at the end of the summer season, I'd go straight into that. But then it went bust. That was the year it went bust. So it was like, oh, wow, right, back to square one. Didn't know what to do. So I found addresses of lots of clowns. You know, I don't quite know how I found these addresses. And I sent out a questionnaire to lots of clowns, just as personal research, just to sort of, you know, try and learn more about clown. And I think I sent about 30 out, and I got 2 back. And one was from a clown in Cirque du Soleil. And the other one was from Martin Zippo Burton. Yeah. And he answered all my questions. And then he said at the end, the best way to learn is by joining a circus. If you want, you can join my circus and be a publicity clown and learn from other clowns. So that's what I did. I went to Zippo's. I was 19 then. Yeah. And my job was like school shows, handing out leaflets on the street as a clown, things like that. But then Zippo got stuck in traffic in his first week, and there was nobody else to do it. So of course I went, I'll do it. And yeah, so that's how I got to start. It was a lucky break in terms of getting a job in the circus and kind of learning, because I think with clowning, you can learn a lot from workshops, but at the end of the day, I think you've got to get out in front of the audience and find out what works. So that's how I did it. Cool. Short and sweet.
And what a fantastic way of you know that, for me, it's like almost an apprenticeship, isn't it? Is this aspect of learning by doing and mentoring and watching and there isn't anything like the response of an audience. And Susie Oddball's come in with a question there, which just, it could be a big answer, so we might try and do it quickly. Susie's asked, what do you, Tweedy, think makes a good clown?
Well, being funny helps, but I think like one of the strong points is you got to have empathy. You know, people have to warm to the character. Otherwise, you're just not going to find them funny. So yeah, I think that's a big strong point. It's interesting because I love like the posts on Clown Power, but I'm kind of not that smart. You know what I mean? In terms of, there's a lot of intellectual people on Clown Power, which is amazing, and I do kind of learn a lot from reading posts, but I do find it quite confusing as well. So I can't go that in depth with that question, is my answer.
So yeah, I mean, I really enjoy, and it personally ticks a lot of boxes with me when you use the word empathy. I think empathy for me that's the connection. That's the connection between you and the audience, and the laughter's almost like your reward for doing it right.
Yeah.
So who were your heroes when you were growing up? And it doesn't have to be clown, it can be, who influenced you?
Well, Laurel and Hardy was the main one, because they used to come on telly at like 6 o'clock right after dinner. So I think I was like 7 or 8. I watched Laurel and Hardy religiously every night after tea. The Muppets were a huge influence. Cartoons, obviously, because like I say, I did want to be an animator. And also growing up, they used to always play, I used to go to my grandma's on a Saturday afternoon, and they'd always play the old movies. They'd always play Norman Wisdom and George Formby and the Marx Brothers. And so all this old style comics, I think I'm kind of more into kind of vaudeville style clowning really than circus clowning. It was actually never really my intention to be a circus clown, but here I am.
Yeah, so that leads me on to something I'm really inquisitive about, is how do you go about writing new material, new skits? How do you generate new work? Do you base it on some of the traditional gags? Are you drawing reference from this material that you watched as a child? And especially, I love this idea of the vaudeville, because it gives you the potential to have a slightly different narrative than just a trad circus entree or running gag or something like that.
Yeah. I take inspiration from everywhere. I have and do use a lot of the old material. It's like I once said to a director, it's an old gag for a reason, and that's because it works. Yeah. It wasn't good, it stood the test of time. But yeah, I watch a lot. The things that I enjoy most are the things that come out of just playing. Like before the shows, I always go out before the circus and before Panto as well, and mix with the audience, animation as they call it in Cirque and places like that. And that's kind of my favorite way of coming up with material, is just by improvising in front of an audience. One of my sort of acts that I'm known for is with a step ladder. And that kind of came about by accident. It was on Gifford Circus a long time. Joplin it was. Actually, De Castro directed it. And at the end of the show, big streamers would be shot out, and they'd always get tangled in the lights and things like that. And because we had like a 5 o'clock and a 7:30, they were finding it difficult to get all the streamers down before the people came in. So I said, well, leave them up there. I'll do it as part of the pre-show. So I took a step ladder out and messed about. And then somebody phoned up saying, can we book your ladder act? And I went, what ladder act? I've got a ladder act. And then I realized, oh, I have got a ladder act. So that's the fun way of coming up with material. But yeah, I just watch a lot. I did, when I first started with Zippos, Johnny Hutch, who's an old vaudeville comedy acrobat, it's an amazing guy. I learned a lot from him. And he said, watching is your schooling. He grew up in the music hall, and he'd say he'd spend all his time in the wings watching every act. And of course, every town it was new acts. And he said, that's how you learn, just by watching. So yeah, I watch a lot. And it's difficult though, because if you watch the same act too much, you end up, it gets so stuck in your mind, you end up almost copying it. I mean, especially when you're younger, and most young clowns, that's what they do. They watch the same act and then you kind of go, he's just copied that person. So it's best not to watch one act lots, but just watch lots of everything.
Tweedy as a performer, a character, an archetype, whatever you want to describe yourself as a clown, has gone through, I suppose, some visual changes over the years from when you first started out to where you are now.
Yes.
Do you think those appearance changes have been sort of organic and through development, or were they influenced by audience response, or maybe advice or direction from a company or something like that?
It was it was more through necessity, because I never, like I said, it wasn't my intention to be a circus clown, so I never intended to wear the full circus makeup. But obviously when I joined Zippos, at the time Zippos was a very traditional circus show. And after, like I say, after I filled in for Zippo in my first week, he then took me on as part of his troupe. So it was a trio, the traditional whiteface and two Augusts. So obviously I had to develop traditional clown makeup for that. But yeah, I never intended doing that. So as soon as I kind of left that and moved to Giffords, I dropped that and went for a more natural look, apart from the hair, obviously.
Now, behind you on this shelf of array of musical instruments, I think I can spot one of your current partners. Is that Keith?
Yeah, up there. So for those that don't know, haven't seen my work, I've got a pet iron, and that's him there, Keith, on the shelf. Yeah.
And does Keith have a particular role, or is it just, why is Keith in the show? Why is he there?
The pet iron, that's all. Was it? Again, it was one of those situations of, well, I don't know why he's on the shelf. It's a sort of dangerous, precarious place to put him, on the shelf above the door. Place for an iron. But again, that was another moment of pre-show, going out before the show. There was an iron in the bin, so I took it out and treated it like a pet, like a dog. And people liked it, thought it was amusing. And now I can't go anywhere without it. If I turn up to a gig, people are going, "Where's Keith? Where's the iron?" I'm like, "Oh, right, yes, get the iron out." So I'm kind of stuck with it now.
Now, you mentioned Giffords, and obviously you've done a long stand now with Giffords, and what keeps you going back? But also, I think if we're talking about Giffords, it'd be really interesting to listen to maybe how Nell has influenced you, and Nell's influence on modern tented circus?
Yeah, so I knew Nell before I was with Giffords. I knew Nell when she was a horse groom on Bobby Roberts' show, actually. So I was already friends with Nell, and then I saw the show in 2002, and at that time it was such a tiny tent. I remember arriving to the ground and thinking that there can't possibly be a circus in there, and there was, and I kind of fell in love with it because the intimacy of it and the theatricality of it as well. So that was 2002, and then I spoke to her the following year about joining, and she was kind of like, yeah, we'd love to have you on board, but we don't like your style, meaning the look that I had previous on Zippos that we just talked about, which was great because I wanted to lose that style as well. So it was great. We were kind of on the same page. And like I say, it wasn't really my intention to be a circus clown. And Giffords has got this, theatre to it. They have directors, they have costume designers, they have a theme, which is, the theme is something that's good to keep you there. Because having a new theme each year, it gives you inspiration for, routines. You can have a through line through the show opposed to just doing a number of acts, things like that. So yeah, and I'd done theatre before because I always do panto and things like that. So working with directors wasn't new, but it was new in the circus in that sort of format. I mean, circuses do have directors, don't have that, like I say, through line and things like that. And the first couple of years was with De Castro, which was great because obviously De Castro is a great clown, and we're on the same wavelength. And I remember 2005, the role she gave me of Comic Ring Boy. It's still one of my favorite shows. So that's like one of the reasons that I've stayed there, the kind of theme. The other practical reason is it's near where I live now, so I can go home and the family can visit at the weekends. And Nell's kind of, she created her own show. She didn't kind of look to others or kind of listen to anyone when they kind of said, no, you can't do that. Because she had so many mad ideas that people go, that'll never work. And then they did work. And it's the type of people that come as well. Everyone's very focused. It's not, it's intimate, which is great for clown. And also the people are so kind of tightly squeezed in. They're not wandering about and getting distracted and looking about. They are completely focused on you. And so many kind of interesting people come, directors and artists and things. I've met so many amazing and interesting people through that show. So I just got a bit sad then because thinking about it now. But yeah, that's why I've been there so long.
Yeah, and I suppose this is probably quite a difficult year for Giffords, isn't it?
Well, it's a difficult year for everybody. Yes.
Yeah. Besides the
it was difficult. But it was difficult prior to all this nonsense. We'd literally just started rehearsals when we got told to stop. Who knows what's going to happen now?
Yeah. Now, you mentioned theatre, you've mentioned panto and circus.
Yes.
If you had a magic wand and if you could say, this is what I would, this is the format I would love to do. Is there one of those that wins out over the others for Tweedy? Is there a genre of where you are as a clown that you would say, that's what I want to do?
It's a difficult one because I love the fact that I can do all the different ones. the kind of variety is the spice of life. So it's great. I can do circus and then do panto and then do theatres in between. But I would like to do more theatre, possibly because the circus takes up so much of the year, and I do less theatre. So I would like to do more theatre. But I think if I did more theatre, then I might want to do more circus. So I don't really have a favourite. I love the fact that I have that variety. Yeah.
That ability to switch and modulate and play around with the form, I suppose. Now I have a question from Ben.
Yes.
Ben says, is there a particular Laurel and Hardy scene or show that you love and would recommend for us all to watch?
Oh, let me think. I'm terrible because I always forget the names of them. I think there's is it Toad in the Hole where they go off in the caravan? I can't remember if that's what it's called. They go off in the caravan. So Ollie has he's got a medical condition and the doctor says you need to get lots of fresh air, and they go off in a caravan. Oh, them there hills, that's what it's called. So they go off into the hills and some bootleggers are making whiskey up in the hills, and the police turn up, so they throw all the whiskey down the well, so that then when Stan and Ollie arrive and start drinking the water, it's actually whiskey, and they get really drunk. And that's a fun one. Also, the one on the boat is great, where they're doing up the boat. That's a good one. There was forget the guy's name. Last week, there was this guy on Twitter. I think I shared it on my Facebook page. I can't remember now. And he did this amazing impersonation of Stan and Ollie, of Stan trying to tell Ollie what Boris had just said. You know, when Stan has an idea and he says it precisely right to Ollie, and then Ollie goes, tell me that again. And then when he tries to tell him again, he gets all the words and everything mixed up. And this is what this guy did with Stan trying to tell Ollie. It's great. Have a look for that. It is really good. And the guy sounds just like both of them as well. It's amazing.
Now, in terms of Stan, now he was I think he was English, but he did live in Scotland for a significant part of his time, didn't he?
He did, yes. His first performance was there. Yeah.
Now, a couple of years ago now, I performed at the Britannia Panopticon, the oldest music hall in the world in Glasgow.
Yes, amazing.
And as I was walking on the stage, one of the planks of wood there has got Tweedy scribbled on it.
Oh, it has. Oh, good. Yes. Yeah, I visited there and scribbled on the plank. It's an amazing place. If anyone's in Glasgow at all, go there. So basically, they didn't know this music hall existed anymore because the shop, it's above a shop, and the shop had just boarded it all up and then sold leather jackets in it. And this woman, Judith, had worked out, she'd gone, the music hall, it should be there. And they went up and they took the panels away, and behind all those panels is this music hall, and it was just, the balcony and everything was still there, and there was still programs and newspapers and everything still in the seats. The stage was a bit wrecked because they built some toilets on the stage for some bizarre reason. But they've taken them off now and they're trying to rebuild it. But it's a fascinating place, and the fact that Stan Laurel's first ever performance was there was quite amazing.
So what artists inspire you now? If you were to say, this is a very contemporary or a modern clown or someone who's very current, who inspires you now and sort of switches you on and makes you go, wow?
Oh, that's a tricky question. I love James Thierry's stuff. I love There's so many like little subtle things that he does, and what he can do with his body is amazing. So yeah, he'd be one strong one. Bill Irwin was always a huge influence, although he's less physical now because he's 70. But it's still amazing to look back at his work. I can't think offhand. There's so many. I mean, anyone that's good at physical comedy, I'm just like love to watch, kind of blown away by, going, oh, that is so good. But yeah, James Tweedy just seems to do some things, a lot of things I've not seen before, you know, and just with using his body a lot of the time as well. I love seeing clowning that's kind of pure clowning with no props or just one prop or things like that, because that's harder to do, obviously. I remember, you know, there's a saying in circus, big props, no talent. You know, the bigger the prop, the less talented you have to be. It's not always the case, but yeah, so that's some thoughts for you there.
Yeah, and I suppose slapstick is something that is central, and you know, you build a huge amount of your work on the art of falling over and hurting yourself.
Yeah, it's getting harder. I'm finding I started learning more magic and things like that as a sort of backup plan, because it is getting harder to kind of fall over and take the falls. But yeah, I love slapstick. There's a couple of guys at Cirque d'Hiver last year. I've met them before, Stephen Ryan. They're American, and they do some great slapstick. I think you can watch all of the Cirque d'Hiver shows on YouTube at the moment. There's some great, if you want to see, you know, sort of great circus clowning, there's some really good stuff on that channel. Brilliant.
So
I've just realised how dark I am. Maybe I've got my light better. Well, that's a bit better. Oh, I just looked at the light and I can't see now.
Oh no.
It's fine. I can still hear. My ears still work.
Right, that's good, because I'm going to think of another question for you. So let me think. I've loads of things I want to ask, and I'm trying to cover the things that are coming in as well on the question and answers. Is there anything that you've not done that you would really like to have a go at? Is there that, you know?
Yeah, there's lots. Yes. So, and when I first got into clowning, like I kind of said, I wasn't looking at circus clowning. When I was at school in 17, and I decided, yes, I want to be a clown. We went to the Edinburgh Fringe with the school, and they decided what shows we went to see. We didn't choose, but luckily they picked. We went to see Circus Oz, and we saw Our Chaos, and then we saw Avner, and that was kind of a big moment. That's another person I look up to a lot. Like I say, because Avner's another example of not relying on big gimmicked props and things like that. It's it's all kind of about his character, although he is a very good juggler as well. So on seeing Avner, I was kind of like, yes, that's what I want to do. And I put my first stage show together. It's a long time ago now. It's probably, I think I first did it 2006. It's called Tweedy's Lost Property. It's set in a lost property office. But my intention for that show was to kind of be an evening show that was more for adults and would kind of get me in the London Mime Festival and into that sort of world. And the first couple I did were evening shows, and it was mainly adults. But then I couldn't get the show booked. Nobody really wanted to book it. They wanted to book it as a family show. So I gave into that, and I did it as a family show. So then obviously you adapt the material to your audience. So it then became more of a family kids show. but it was always my intention to be that. And I'd still like to do a clown show that was more for adults and had, so I can go more emotionally into the clown and go a bit deeper into the clown. And I've always had that, but I've never actually got around to doing it, mainly because I'm very busy, which is great. I'm not so busy now, so maybe I should write stuff. Sorry, just thinking out loud. So yeah, I'd like to look more into doing a theatre show that is more adult and goes deeper into the clown. I had this idea a few years ago, and I started kind of working on it a bit, and I discussed it with Nola Ray and things like that. So it was a show set in World War I with a battle bagpiper as the main character, as the clown, because it made me the ridiculousness of a battle bagpiper. So this soldier is handed bagpipes, which are loud and annoying, and told, okay, you go over the top first. Do I get a gun? No, you don't get a gun. You can have a little dagger in your sock, but that's it. You just go up and you play this. So they go up where everyone is shooting and play the bagpipes, which are really loud, going, hey, look at me, I'm over here. And then everyone else comes up. And that kind of fascinated me. And I did start kind of writing a show around that, which I should really persevere with. Because there's so many great stories about these battle bagpipers, about them being shot in both. There's one, it was, I can't remember what war it was in India. He was shot in both legs, but he carried on playing. And the tune he was playing was Cock of the North. This is what I was going to call the show. Well, maybe I should say, this is what I'm going to call the show, and then I get it in my head, I'm going to do it. Cock of the North, which is a ridiculous tune. It's so that tune playing whilst people are being shot and stabbed is just so ridiculous. So to me, that was just like, wow, this is like clown, but then it's also, death, and it's dark. So yeah, that's a show I'd like to do at some point. But I had a lot of difficulty trying to think how to make it work, because I was also thinking of doing it wordless, which is why I contacted Nola about it, because I thought to get into that sort of deeper side of the clown, I need to, not talking might be a way of doing that, is what I thought, and maybe still think, because I've done what I'm doing now for so long, it's so ingrained in me that I might just get excited and just go back into Tweedy. So that's something I'd like to do. I've just told the whole show now. Somebody's going to steal my idea, and then that'll be it.
No worries, you can pitch it as an idea and someone might write it for you.
But anyone wants to fund that idea.
What's interesting for me there is, and it applies very much to my own sort of practice, is that, yeah, I've moved into that world of theatre and doing clowning for predominantly adult audiences because of that ability to connect at so many different levels than just the humour level. And Susie came in, Susie Oddball, I think, came in with a question and says, and you've almost answered it, but I think we'll try and clarify it a bit more, is she says, what are your thoughts about humanity in clowning as opposed to just humour?
It is amazing. And that's one of the things that makes me feel very blessed to be a clown, is that the ability to touch people's hearts. I've got a big following in the area that I'm at, in the Cotswolds. And a few weeks ago, no, it wasn't a few weeks ago, it was a few months ago, because there was no social distancing in place at the time. And this woman just came up to me and she gave me a big hug. And she was thanking me because her mum had been very ill and she subsequently just passed. But I brought her so much joy in just before she passed when she came to one of the shows. So yeah, it's an amazing gift that the clown has, that humanity, and being able to really kind of touch people's hearts and bring joy. And it's a funny thing. Like you say, I'm not sort of intellectual enough to kind of delve too much into it, but you know, I don't know that comedians have that same thing. They make people laugh, but I don't think they connect in the same way that clown does. So yes, I think that maybe answers your question, Susie.
Now I've got a curved ball in here from Ollie Crick.
Yeah.
Are you ready for this one? Buster Keaton or Charlie Chaplin?
Oh, it's Buster Keaton, but I do love Chaplin as well. But I love all the stunts and everything that Keaton does, and I try and incorporate that in what I do, which is why I've got like a fascination with ladders, because you can do so much kind of slapstick and falling about. But yeah, Keaton. But I also think Harry Langdon's really underrated. Although he wasn't, you know, a writer and kind of director in the same way that they were, I absolutely love Harry Langdon's character and the way that he went the complete opposite from everyone else, because everyone else was going so fast and bang, smack, slapstick, slapstick, and then he'd just go so slow, he'd be hitting the head, and it just seemed to take ages just to slowly fall down, and he just had that sort of big, really innocent baby look to him. And of course, Harold Lloyd as well. I mean, I think it is Keaton. It's definitely Keaton for me, and then Chaplin. But then I don't know if it'd be Harry Langdon or Lloyd next, because Lloyd, of course, did all those stunts as well. But to me, Lloyd felt less clown. I don't know. He didn't. Maybe it's because he kind of called his character the everyman, and maybe that's why he was all, his character was kind of almost too real. And then, yeah, I don't know. But there you go, Keaton.
Okay, so Keaton all the way. And would you have a favourite Keaton clip or film to recommend to our viewers or our listeners?
Oh, no. As I said, names of movies I can never remember. I think it's probably, is it? No, I was going to say Sherlock Jr., but I don't know if it is Sherlock Jr. There's the other one, In the House, with all the gadgets, but I can't remember what it's called. No, one of those, Sherlock Jr. or the one In the House. I don't know, but they're all great, to be honest. Yeah, I can't really think to recommend a specific one. And of course, Buster Keaton worked in the circus in his older days. And Arthur Pedler worked with him, fellow clown, didn't he?
Yeah, Medrano.
Yes.
Right. Okay, we're firing through the questions, and we're sort of, yeah, we're eating up the time. So I'm mindful now to get back to my original list. Have you yourself, besides your sort of journeyman approach to learning the craft and this apprenticeship of working with some of the finest trad and slapstick clowns, do you ever attend workshops yourself or go and work with other I suppose clown teachers, not maybe directors, but in a clown teaching to explore maybe new avenues or new approaches?
So not really. When I first joined Giffords and De Castro as director, we did, before rehearsals started, we did a week-long workshop with De Castro, which was really interesting for me to work, because work on instinct. So I was kind of coming to De Castro's workshops from the opposite way, in that I'd find out things that I'd been doing for years and go, oh, that's why I was doing it like that. So it was kind of, I was finding out why I was doing things, because I hadn't thought about why do I do that? And it was interesting and I did enjoy it, but I actually find them very difficult and not that enjoyable, I must confess. I did one with Avner as well. It was just a day one. And again, I don't know, I just personally, I don't get that much out of them. So I've not done that many. But when I was 17 and I was first studying it, I did a couple of weekends with Jonathan Kay. Maybe that was a problem, because Jonathan Kay's workshops they're amazing, but they were really intense, like emotionally. I remember somebody getting really upset and going, you're treating this workshop like a counselling session and all this kind of thing. And I was a 17-year-old going, I just want to fall over. But again, it was really useful. But yeah, that's my answer, really.
Cool. How, I've got to be careful how I word this. How have the advancing years, how has life changed Tweedy as a clown? Do you think as you get older, you become more nuanced, or do you find I know I do, the older I'm getting, I find my life experiences make it easier for me to connect with an audience. So I suppose I'm asking that same question, is as you're getting older, do you find clowning becomes more, I don't know, is it more natural, more instinct, or easier? I
definitely find it easier to connect. You know, when you first start out, you kind of quite, well, for me anyway, I was kind of nervous all the time and found it quite hard to connect. So it's easier to connect. It's not so easy to fall over. So I think physically it's getting harder, but the kind of emotional side of it is getting easier, which is possibly why I want to explore that more. So yeah, it's definitely getting easier. I mean, as well, because certainly with Giffords, it's incredibly easy, because these are people that have been coming to see me for the last 10 years. And some of them, you know, some of them were kids when they first saw me, and now they're young adults. So I don't have to, I just come out and they're like, hey, it's Tweedy, and they're ready to laugh. They know my character. So in that respect, it's very easy in that kind of circumstance. But at the same time, there is that pressure of coming up with new material every year and trying to top that material every year is a challenge. But that's what makes it interesting, is that challenge.
So Tweedy, I'm gonna open up the session to our listener viewers, or viewer listeners, I don't know, Zoomers. So I'm going to open up the session to an almost free-for-all now between the people who are online. And from me, thank you so much for an interesting 45, 50 minutes of chat and a catch-up in these strange times.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you very much, Simon. Yeah.
Okay, so if anyone has any questions, now's your chance.
Mm-hmm. No, nobody has any questions, so I should go now. Oh.
Oh, everyone's been shy. So I'll just take the opportunity to remind folks that you can donate through Patreon. And you can, if you feel that way, you can drop into PayPal as well and cross Zoological's palm with a few silvers. So yeah, I can see people popping up. There's Flat Hat and
hey, thanks Tweedy. Really really lovely.
Thank you.
Nice.
Oh, my internet suddenly played up then. Hi, De Castro. He's busy. He's not got a headphone.
Hello. Hi,
Hello.
Tweedy.
You all right?
Yeah, and you? All right?
Yeah, good. Yes. All right.
Right, I want to tell you that because you're saying that you're getting older and all the physicality is getting a bit harder for you, and you wanted to do go into the theater, doing something a bit more adult. As you said, you want to do something different. I think that's the time for you to do it.
Yeah.
And I don't think that Tweedy, the clown, are gonna be on your way. I think it's the opposite.
Yeah.
I think he might want to say other things too.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You shouldn't be put off by that or think that's not gonna work. Now it's gonna work. It's all together, you know. So give it a chance.
It's like
give it a chance. Yeah, give it a chance, mate. You know.
Yeah.
It's gonna work out. It's gonna work out. Gotta see. And I must say that that show we did with Gifford, that you were the ring man, was called what is it called? It's called the Cockroach Show. Yeah, that's it. I think we had a lot of fun. I think that was a very good meeting between us as well. You know, it was wonderful.
Yeah, I loved that show.
It was wonderful. It was really wonderful. Very funny.
Yeah, it's called the Cockerel Show because the cockerel didn't show. So
that's right. And the whole thing about that show is that because before we done that show, I mentored Nell for almost a year. And she said, okay, it's the Cockerel Show. And the whole idea is because she wanted to be very male and very testosterone-like and all that. But I didn't quite got that. You know, she just said the cockerel, and I thought just about the animal. I said, but where is it? There is, you keep talking about it. There is no cockerel. It was my clown head directing the whole thing as well. You know what I mean? I thought it was so funny. Oh, yeah.
Tweedy, how did you feel about doing Waiting for Godot? Because that's I put it in the questions. It was very complex and quite intense, isn't it?
Yeah, I absolutely loved doing Waiting for Godot. I wish the run had been longer. I'd like to do it again. Yeah, it was great. It was incredibly hard to learn all those lines, but it was the second time I'd done been an actor. But obviously with Godot, you can still put a lot of clown into it. And I found it quite strange. I had to build up a fourth wall because I'm used to not have it, although we did break it still a bit. But kind of having that character to go into opposed to just being your character was a very kind of interesting process. But yeah, I loved it, and I'd kind of like to explore more of that Beckett stuff.
I love Beckett. That's why I was asking you.
Yeah.
I hope you're going to do it again because I want to actually see it because I missed it. But I heard a lot of reports.
Yeah, it got nice reviews, which is good. Yeah. Any other questions? Ben's playing his ukulele, but we can't hear him.
So what I'll do, just while people are thinking of any further questions, I'll wrap up the session officially with the speech I've been provided. So I'd like to thank all the guests and everyone for coming and contributing to this zoological Zoom. Further events are often posted on the Facebook page. They go out through a mailing list. They're a Clown Power group, and yeah, stay in touch with us. Check out Clown Power. Sign up for a newsletter if you want. There is I've mentioned it a few times, the Patreon page and PayPal, because it's with that support that obviously Dave and Sasha can keep this platform running. And I think it's such a valuable resource at these times that we can pull together groups of clowns to communicate from our own little lockdown areas and yeah, just share our thoughts and ideas and keep communication going. So thanks everyone for popping in, and thanks to Dave and Sasha. I think Maggie has something there.
What did you say, Dave?
I just want to get something off my chest, really.
Yeah.
I did a sort of online workshop, and quite a short one, really, to a group of people, and some of the people have done comedy and clowning before. And then the people in the workshop, they had about 5 minutes to ask me questions. And so one person said, well, so what is clowning? And the kind of, and I was supposed to be answering the questions, and the organizer said, well, it's when you're behaving like a child, isn't it? When you're playing, and she kind of like, well, I was just sat there trying to interject, shut up, So it was just this idea, and these are people in comedy, and how we address this idea to kind of the I think I'm saying non-clowns, because even everyone's a clown, but it is that idea of undoing some of these kind of these regular kind of phrases that we spout or people spout, and I just wondered what anybody else kind of thought, and have they had that said, and how and what do they? Yeah, because I always think to myself, yeah, we're kind of we play with curiosity and sometimes naivety, but at the end of the day, I'm 50 odd years old. So, I know, and so there's that kind of tension, isn't there? Tension of naivety / a lot of knowledge and a lot of manipulation. So anyway, chest cleared, folks.
Simon asked me that similar question, and I honestly don't know how you answer it. So
thank you, Alan. That makes me feel better.
If anyone, well, yeah, I just kind of said, well, what's a clown? Well, he's funny to start with. That's kind of the main ingredient. But I find it, a very difficult question to answer. So if anyone has the answer, tell us.
Can you put it in the chat box, please? Copy and paste.
I'll pop in. Yeah, I find it a tough one to answer, because for me, clown is just about being a human being, and it's about having a relationship with the audiences. It's not always about funny. It's not always about the pathos, the empathy. It's about the human condition for me, and so.
So my point, Simon, is that's the concept. It's what other people say about our world, isn't it? What other people's, you just need to behave like a child, and you've got it, and it's like,
yeah,
stop it.
It's very difficult to answer this.
It is, isn't it?
I always get stuck as well, because it's not just a simple answer. If you think there are so many lines of clowns that it has to be that we accept that is valid, so it's very difficult to pin up one thing. It
would be nice though, De Castro, if we all sort of say, well, it's this and it's not that, but it's this and it's not that, and it's that, but it's not this, but it is that as well as that. And sometimes it's that. I don't know. I'm playing with words, aren't I? I'm playing with words, and I'm going like, so what is it then? And we're going like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's very different. I remember when I started doing this snow show, that before it's called the snow show, was called the Yellow.
Yeah.
And snow show only happens when producers start coming in. So the very beginning of it was called the Yellow, and it was coming to London, and I said to my friend, I said, oh, I'm doing this clown show, but I have to explain so much what there was. But it's not what you're thinking. It's not children, it's not circus, it's not mime, it's not theater, it's different. So it was I almost start not saying it. And the other thing is, if I go somewhere, a party or an event that is not a theater event and people don't know me, I just go accompanying somebody, and people ask what I do, I never say I'm a clown, because it's gonna be, my party is gonna be over, because I have to start explaining it all over.
I do. I say I'm a clown.
No,
and watch them go like, no.
I say I work on Tesco, and then nobody wants to hear anymore. Oh, I work in a supermarket. That's it. Okay, then. So I can enjoy myself.
I went on a workshop a few years ago at the clown convention in Western Superman, and I don't know whether it was. I met Reg Bolton when I was there, and he did a workshop, and he called it Clown Abuse, and he talked about the abuse of the image of the clown, as in Ronald McDonald and It with Stephen King, and the use of a clown as a horror thing, but also the abuse of the clown is because you're dressed as a clown, it's okay for kids to kick you. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Exploring the different avenues. And I think on the one hand, because my focus is generally kind of juggling, people say, oh, you do performing circus stuff, are you a clown? I kind of go, oh no, I'm not a clown, but I don't mean that in a disparaging way, because I love clowns and good quality clowning. But it's a bit like the thing when people say, go, oh, you just do juggling. It's like that. Oh, you're a clown. It's like, I think it's problematic without getting into semantics, Maggie, and all that stuff, or explaining what it's not, kind of thing. It's a long answer. I
was just being playful. I was being, but I still come up against these people who just say it's behaving like a child, and it's like.
Do you want the long response to that or the short one? And see what they say. You know what I mean? It's like, because also somebody made a distinction a while ago for me. I always remember being struck by it. There's a difference between being childish and being childlike.
Yes.
And they're enormously different things, So that
is the point. That is the point, because people do things that's very childish. It's an adult pretending that is a child.
But not always. I mean, for a woman, it's being unsocialized. It's being slightly hysterical sometimes. It's being grotesque, okay, So it's not. It's just so many. Anyway, I just thank you for listening. I've got to go to bed.
I think we've got a couch and wine, Maggie, anytime you like. So.
Ooh. About half an hour?
Yes, all right.
Any more questions, folks? Because we're coming close to the time limit there.
Oh.
I know.
Oh.
Is
everybody okay? Is everybody okay wherever you are?
Yeah. Thanks, Simon.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Sasha. Thank you, Simon. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you, everyone. I think Dave might leave it open for a little while for people to chat, and it might just disappear.